You're listening to the Vikes Verified podcast. Hello and welcome to episode 95 of the Vikes Verified podcast. We are live from Stillwater in Cub Studios, presented by Pull Tab Sports, and the Minnesota Vikings are sitting at 2-0 after knocking off the San Francisco 49ers. We're an underdog at home. We come out and take care of business. Couldn't feel better as a Vikings fan right now. The hype is starting to build. But what a week and what an atmosphere in U.S. Bank Stadium this week, Matt. How did you feel after this game?
Couldn't have felt better, man. 2-0, beat the 49ers for the second year in a row. They still have not won here since 1992.
Ooh.
So to come out of where we're at after 2 weeks, like I said, things could not have gone better. Sam Darnold looks to be, doing what he needs to and is winning us ball games, and that's exactly what we talked about, what we needed from him, and he's doing that now. And I think we're opening up a lot of the national media's eyes. That building definitely knew what they're capable of, and they're showing that. But now I think everybody else is getting a rude awakening in terms of, hey, this team did have pieces around them, and now Sam Darnold is showing that he can play competent football, and we're winning ball games. So I think for a lot of teams, they don't want to come here and play us or just have to play us in general. So couldn't ask to be in a better spot after 2 weeks, and, hey, we're undefeated. This is great.
It feels great.
We are back with another week of Vikes Verified Vent Line. After an electric week 2 win against the 49ers, we're going to open it up to some of the fans and hear their perspectives on the games and maybe some questions that they have from this past game and the upcoming week against the Texans. First, we've got Luke. I'm going to open up the floor to you, Luke. Go ahead.
What's going on, fellas? How we doing?
Doing great. Can't feel much better on Victory Monday.
Where are we calling in from today?
Calling in from Jupiter, Florida.
Okay, nice.
Minnesota.
Yep, second week we've had a Florida guy on the pod, so I love that. We're spreading across the U.S. here. Open it up. What do you got for us?
Yeah, man. I mean, I first and foremost just want to talk about what I've seen, especially, post game there. Us blaring mini men in the locker room. I've really seen like a culture change, and it's really fun to kind of be that team that shows that emotion and that hype after wins like that. And I mean, I don't think there's a guy in the league that does a better post-game interview or press conference or speech than KOC.
Definitely. Couldn't agree more. KOC is so well-spoken. I think, like you said, a great speech giver after the game, really knows how to bring the team together and unite them as a group. But then the funny thing to me is you're totally right with the many men. I think that was awesome to see. You can see how loose we are, but at the same time, we're so connected. And I thought that it was somewhat ironic that it was after a win against the 49ers, who were kind of known for bringing out their jukebox, having their own little swagger of their own, seeing our version of that and just the confidence that this team has, I think really speaks volumes in terms of how much belief is in our building, not the outside noise that we've all heard this offseason. They have really trusted themselves, and I think the coaching staff has really shown how well they've been able to tailor this team, and now we're sitting at 2-0 and obviously couldn't be happier.
Yep. I agree. Just to piggyback on that briefly, I just think one thing that you think about when you see that footage is how rare that is. And, I'd say less than 1/4 of programs in the NFL have a culture that we're at currently. And I think that is definitely a product of the head coach, defensive coordinator, a lot of cohesiveness there. It just seems like this team is moving as one unit, and it seems like the players want to play for each other, and they want to play for the coaches that they're coached by. And you look at some other situations in the NFL, I mean, we can rattle them off, Carolina and places that are struggling right now. Players in those locker rooms, they'd kill to have a moment like that after knocking off a NFC powerhouse and being able to celebrate with the teammates. So I think one thing we don't got to worry about with this group is the trust in each other and I would say just the cohesiveness as a unit.
1,000%. Love it.
Definitely. Let me spin one back at you here. So everyone wants to talk about, how this maybe was unexpected from Sam Darnold. He's obviously playing pretty good football. He's turned the ball over a couple times in these games, but for the most part, he's been able to move us up and down the field. What do you think the key is going to be for him moving forward as the hype and the expectation continues to build for him? Because he's never really been in a spot where, Sam Darnold is playing really good football. So what do you think he's going to have to do and our coaching staff's going to have to do to try to manage the expectation and just keep rolling?
I mean, my biggest takeaway is, if you're able to run the football and you're able to lead the NFL yards before contact on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
It makes your quarterback's life a lot easier.
Absolutely.
And the guys up front, I really think are a big key to that. In the last years past, that's always been a big question as far as like when it comes to us as our offensive line plays. So to really see the solidification up front, I think that's a huge key for Sam, just to be able to be comfortable. And honestly, I think from a play calling standpoint, there's not too much to deviate off of if we're able to continue to score 25 points plus a game. So love to see that. Love to see, the, intricacy that I think KOC can get into even more. And not to mention, having your first and second wide receiver and starting tight end in the last drive and be able to go down and move the ball like you did speaks volume. And I think another sleeper key that I've been really fond of watching, and the guy's got so much speed. It's exciting to see him kind of emerge in almost like an Adam Thielen role where he was doing really well in special teams, and now he's coming up and getting a shot. But Jalen Nailor, man, what a dog he is.
Yeah, super
I'm
excited.
excited to watch him, and I think it's going to be really cool to see a good wide receiver 3, if not 2, come up, depending on how healthy Addison is. So.
Yeah, definitely. Naylor being able to step up was not only necessary for this game, but this season, really, especially with Addison and Jefferson nursing different injuries. Just an awesome trajectory that he's had. It's always his issue has always been staying healthy, but we're seeing that this season, and we're really reaping the rewards from it. And I think it just goes to show how deep this wide receiver room is. And another guy that I think really does a lot for this room is Keenan McCardell. I'm very glad we've been able to keep him for 3+ years now. You see the connection that he has with Jefferson, and I think that whole room really rides behind him. And having a guy like that, mixed with everybody else in our coaching staff between Flores, McCown, and KLC, this is, I think, maybe the best coaching staff in the NFL, just based on overall how much talent we have on it. And I think you're starting to see that really show on the field of us outplaying people and out-scheming people, which was something that was really cool to see, especially a guy like against Shanahan yesterday. I thought KOC out-schemed him, out-called the game, and just an awesome progression to see from his coaching staff.
For sure.
100%.
And
I'll ask you this then.
Yeah,
go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, just quick. I just want to say that this receiving room blocks. And you look at Trent Sherfield and Jalen Nailor specifically in this game to me, but I think that is a big sign when you have skill players that are willing to do the dirty work. And obviously Jefferson gets rolled up on there, and that's unfortunate, but he's blocking his ass off on that play too. So that's a culture thing in itself. If you have guys on the perimeter that are going to help spring run plays and big plays, that's a huge difference maker.
Without a doubt. So, I was just going to say, kind of touching off what he was saying with the coaching staff, I think, obviously Brock Purdy still threw for 300 yards. That intermediate passing was kind of like where you saw us give up a lot of those kind of chunk plays. I was going to ask you then kind of more about this week. What do you guys see him kind of changing and maybe going forward with playing teams like Houston that, they're going to be a tough team in those areas with guys like with Diggs and, being able to hopefully Mixon's healthy for them, but at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it's very obvious that they've got some dudes on the perimeter. It's been cool to see Nico Collins' progression. He's becoming going to superstar descent, in my opinion, and obviously Stefon Diggs, Tank Dell, no scrubs of themselves. So we're gonna have our hands full in the passing game. As for a solution and how we handle that, I think it's obviously going to be how much can you confuse C.J. Stroud with your pre-snap alignment, and that's obviously something that Brock Purdy noted after the game, saying your scheme is crazy. It's how much can we confuse him, and are we able to – obviously we have an older secondary with Gilmore and Griffin and some of these guys, but can we play a good mix of man and zone coverage and really just not give up the big play? I think that's something that Tank Dell made a living off last year, was catching the big play. He's getting a 60-yard post. Collins is hitting 50-yard posts. Can we keep their big gains to under 30 yards? And can we just not give up the big one over the top and continue to get the kind of pressure we are on the quarterback?
Yeah, and just to add one final note there, I think the biggest difference that I've seen on this defense this year, at least through the 2 games, has been our ability to get to the quarterback with 4-man rushes. Flores noted at the end of last season that he wasn't able to play as much man and bring only 4 rushing linemen compared to last year when he felt like he had to bring 5-6 consistently. I think now that we're able to, we lead the league in sacks with 11. We're able to get home with that 4-man rush. That allows us to drop back. And I think he's got guys that fit that man coverage scheme better in Stephon Gilmore and Shaq Griffin. Both of them have done a very good job so far, and we haven't really heard their name, which is probably a good thing. So that's been the biggest thing for me, I think, is his ability to now get home with those 4 rushers now opens up the rest of his playbook.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. Well, we appreciate you, Luke. Thanks for coming on and bringing the insight. Let's try to keep this thing going versus Houston this week. I'm going to ask you one final question. Who is your favorite addition on this defense?
It's got to be my boy Cashman, man.
He's a dog.
I mean, being close to home and knowing and watching him train at ETS and those guys over there and really kind of seeing that hometown kid emerge. And, I mean, dude, he almost had a sick pick and had a bunch of great plays and 14 tag. I mean, he's a dog. So
he's all over the field. It's got to feel so good for him coming home, stepping up like that. He's going to be a critical part of the defense. Absolute field general out there.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Appreciate you having me on, boys.
Yes,
Absolutely.
sir.
Have a good one. SKOL Vikes.
Take care.
SKOL.
SKOL.
And next, we'll be bringing in Grant from Golden Valley. Grant, are you there?
Yep, I'm there. How's it going, guys?
What's happening, brother?
Doing great. What do you got for us today?
Yeah, you guys touched on Darnold a little bit with the last caller, but when I was rewatching the game back today, what I noticed was his timing is just on point with these receivers. And, I mean, being on time with your best player, Justin Jefferson, is probably easier than most, but seeing him throw these balls to Jalen Nailor when his back is completely turned, just trusting him to be in the right spot and hitting him right in between the numbers, it's really impressive to see. And Nick, with your experience having played receiver in the past, how hard is that to get timing with more than just your number one receiver and really be able to trust multiple guys at the same time? How long does that take? Is this rare for Darnold to have this good of rapport with his receivers this early on, or what are your thoughts on that?
That's a great point. Great point. I think that obviously that is majority repetition, I think timing, but I think those kind of things can be expedited with the correct coaching staff and the correct teachings. And I think that, being a quarterback in the league, Kevin knows all about timing and all about footwork and when you want to be taking a 3-step and a 5-step and which routes you want to throw out of your break when they're not looking at and which ones you want them to see. So I'm going to attribute that, him being able to get up to speed with our receivers, I'm going to attribute that to Kevin, honestly, because you look at the Bears last night, right? And you look at Caleb Williams, and that's the exact opposite. His timing is a major issue. He can't get the ball out of his hands. And then you just look at Matt Eberflus on the sidelines just kind of standing there when he makes a mistake. There's no correction there. And you can just tell the disconnect between having the defensive-minded coach and the rookie quarterback. And they're just not firing on all cylinders. But that is a very good point you saw. Even the out route to Powell to move the chains there on that critical drive, he throws that before he's out of his break at the sticks. It's just trust, and I think a lot of it is just communicating with the staff, and I want to attribute a majority of that to Kevin, but I don't want to agree too much with Colin Cowher, but I also think that there's an element to Darnold right now where he has sped up his release, and his feet have gotten a lot calmer. When he was in Carolina and New York, he was really happy, feet in the pocket, dancing around a lot. It seemed like every time yesterday when he stepped up in the pocket, I was just confident that he was going to deliver a strike. Mm-hmm. Like, he seems like he is stepping up with confidence and just – regardless of if it's the right throw or not, obviously the one that Fred Warner picks off is a tight window, but at least he steps up, right out of his drop and he's letting it rip. There's no hesitation in his game right now. I just think it's a product of the staff believing in him and being able to get him up to speed quickly.
Yeah, you talked about you talked about stepping up in the pocket right there, Nick.
Mm-hmm.
I think someone that we really have to call out that I've probably been one of the most vocal critics of is I thought Ed Ingram had a pretty good game considering their talent on the interior of the line there. I haven't looked at the PFF grades or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he didn't flash or anything on that, but just with how poorly we've seen him play in the past, I thought he did a pretty decent job, and especially on the 98-yard pass, 97-yard pass to Jefferson. I mean, Darnold had a clean pocket that he was able to step up and let it rip.
Yeah, that was impressive. And Bradbury on that rep, too. He's got a full-speed Fred Warner coming at him. Ed Ingram's physicality always pops off the page. I just think it's his discipline and maybe some of the technique that's not always there in the pass pro. But, there's multiple clips of him just throwing Leonard Floyd out of the club, too. And he's very, very physical. And I think that that's one thing that you can't necessarily coach as a lineman. How physical are you? but you can shape up technique and you can shape up footwork. So that's why I have hope for him, and I think that's why they don't pull him out of the lineup, because he does pop with physicality, and that's just something that, you can't really – you either have it or you don't, right? Like, you're either a physical dude or you're a technique dude, and he's for sure on the physical side.
Definitely. And I think, I was very encouraged by his performance yesterday. I think that definitely ties into Sam Darnold's success, is our ability for this offensive line to give him the proper time. KOC's offense, just like most, is obviously very timing-based, and you're seeing – what Kevin O'Connell says in terms of tying your eyes to your feet. You're seeing that with Darnold, I think specifically on that 97-yard touchdown and the throw to Naylor. You see the confidence in his step backs and then really finding that one hitch and being confident and letting the ball rip. And we're seeing the rewards of him having the confidence in his game now, because the offensive line is giving him the pockets that he needs to. When he's not super flustered, he can get the ball out to where it needs to be. And I thought those two throws were just very good examples of him just being confident and getting the right protection and trusting his receivers, because both of those throws, he kind of threw them open in a way. As much as Jefferson had him beat, he had to trust that he was going to go get that ball. And Naylor specifically, to fit that ball in that seam, was a very impressive throw to me. That, like you said, with his back to him, to go and have the confidence to spin that, and on a third down when we needed it, when they were within one score, I think just speaks to the cojones that's on Darnold and the confidence that we've instilled with him. And you could see it in the locker room after, everyone pumping him up. I don't think he's been in a situation like this, and now we're seeing how much his game can be elevated when you give him the proper protection and players around him.
Yeah, I think confidence goes a long way. I mean, everyone believes in him, and they're not fake believing in him, too. That's the thing. I think the teammates truly, really do believe in him, and that's gave him the confidence to let it rip, even if it leads to a pick here or there.
Yeah, you can't manufacture that, right? You can't 100%. Really fake that, so I agree with you.
I wanted to ask you guys one question about the defensive side of the ball quick. How many weeks is Andrew Van Ginkel going to get away with this play on the line where he's tipping these passes where they're trying to throw these quick screens or flat routes or whatever they're doing right away? Because the man is an animal, and he's got to have some of the best hands in the league from a defensive end or outside linebacker. I mean, he was great again. Almost took 2 picks again to the house, it seemed like. So
yeah, I mean, that is incredible. I've really never seen anyone who's able to read screens like this. But I guess the offensive part of me says you're obviously watching that and you're seeing this guy's all over it. So what I'm expecting to see, he gets so far upfield to try to make a play on these balls, right? Yep. What we're going to eventually see is we're going to see a quarterback pump the bubble and then throw slant behind it, or they're going to find a way to expose the part of the field that he's left vacated. So it's either going to be a drag route right underneath him, and some team's going to figure it out. But you know what? So many teams throw screen in this league, especially on early downs, just trying to get a shorter second or a shorter third that is, if he plays like this all season, like, he's going to do it again, because it's only been 2 games and he's had 4 that he's almost made happen. So outside of
it's not just the screenplays either. I mean, on that I can't remember what exactly the route the receiver ran, but 4th down on the 2-yard line, he made a tip there that almost led to a Harrison Smith interception and ended up being a turnover on downs. So,
he's just been everywhere.
Got great hands on the line.
The value we're looking at right now for his contract and his production is just it's looking like a very, very good signing if this guy's able to stay on the field. He's everywhere.
I mean, every single one of the defensive signings we've made has made an impact. I mean, Grenard maybe not as much on the stat sheet, but he's getting doubled.
Pressure's all over the place, too.
Right, yeah. And you got guys like who might not be new additions, but getting some more playing time, like Pat Jones with 4 sacks to start the year. I mean, you just got guys overperforming their past all over the field for us.
Absolutely. I want to spin one more back at you, Grant, and it's just going to be dealing with expectations. So we're in a position right now. We're on our high horse victory Monday, knocking off a great team. A lot of major publications now talking about the Vikings. Hey, are they legit? Sam Darnold looks good, gassing us up a little bit. So I know personally, when things happen like this, I want to talk a little bit. I want to let people know that the Vikings are legit, right? So tapering expectation moving forward. What advice would you have if you were overseeing this team to kind of help them move forward and continue to play good ball?
I mean, if you're KOC, I guarantee they're just trying to find any sort of bulletin board material they can find, right?
Yeah.
Someone said in the media says a bad comment about us, put that up on the screen. Just continue to keep that chip on these guys' shoulders, and not let them drink the Kool-Aid a little bit too much. Mm-hmm. And I mean, O'Connell's about as professional as it gets, so I trust that he's going to keep these guys in line. But from a fan perspective, I'll tell you, it was tough to not be to not look a little bit in the future after that game last week, because I don't think any of us could have saw the dominance that this team has shown for the first couple weeks.
Definitely. And I would, I think the thing for fans too is that we are probably things are great right now. We are flying on cloud nine. There is probably going to be a game or two that Darnold doesn't have his best game. And I think that's where fans need to not, run and just say, hey, we need Nick Mullins. We need Nick Mullins. He's not going to be perfect every game. Hopefully he is, but
sure.
Let's have some patience with him. He's shown some very good things through these first 2 weeks, so I just don't want fans to jump ship if he has 1 or 2 bad games. We're riding it out with him this year, and I think so far he's shown that he can do this and, even more, hopefully.
I don't want to take too much of your guys' time, but really quickly here, does this say something about Kirk Cousins? How the year has started so far? What do you guys think?
I guess it's easy for us to sit here right now and say yes, right? Mm-hmm. And I think we've talked about this personally, is that there were parts of us that didn't want to let Kirk Cousins go because he was the option for so long, and he was semi close to getting us over the hump, if you will. But when you see 2 straight games from Darnold like that makes me think a lot of this is Kevin O'Connell, and this is not this. Kirk's skill set was good, but I've already seen Darnold make a handful of plays that Kirk would have probably, taken a sack on, to be blatantly honest, and able to move the chain. So I'm very glad we moved on after you look at these 2 games and you look at the contracts we're dealing with at the quarterback position compared to theirs. And I guess we're going to see how the Falcons play tonight, right? But, a lot of concern about the Achilles as well. And at his age, I just think I am very thankful that the front office stood firm with their number and didn't compromise for a guy that, maybe we could have a lot of guys that are close to his caliber with our coaching staff. So I'm glad we didn't cave in on the contract.
I would agree.
O'Connell and Kwesi together, man, their stocks couldn't be higher right now with how good the additions are playing and how much O'Connell's been able to get out of Darnold and the rest of these guys. So it's a fun time to be a Vikings fan, I'd say.
Yes, sir. Sure. I'm hoping to see an extension for those 2 come down the pipeline here sometime this year. But again, appreciate you having you on, Grant, and giving us some of your insight on this past game and this season that we're about to endure here. Very exciting times in Vikings Nation.
Let's go, SKOL
Absolutely,
Vikes.
SKOL Vikes, and keep packing the stadium here. The environment was great on Sunday. I was there. So
let's go.
If you're listening and you're thinking about getting tickets, it's a ton of fun. So
let's do it.
Yes, sir. You heard the man. Phil, pack that bank.
All right. See you, boys.
Absolutely.
Take it easy. The Vikes Verified podcast is sponsored by Drip Drop. It is the newest, hottest electrolyte on the market. It's got half the sugar of its competitors and 3 times the electrolytes. It seems like a no-brainer. You need to go pick up yourself some Drip Drop today if you want a game changer in your life. Drip Drop is the answer. Find it at dripdrop.com or on Amazon.
And the Vikes Verified podcast is sponsored by Dent Heads, car lovers. If you've got dents, dings, or hail damage, listen up. Dent Heads paintless dent removal is your key to a flawless ride. Why settle for less when you can have the best? Boasting over 400 5-star Google reviews, Dent Heads is the best to do it in the metro area. Give them a call today or check out dentheads.com for perfection on wheels. Let's talk about, the biggest moment in this game, and that's Justin Jefferson blowing the roof off with a 97-yard touchdown. I mean, this is a monumental play. I think a lot of people don't even realize the stature of this play. This is an all-time great Vikings play, if you ask me. This is probably the most electric deep shot I've ever seen in person. Have been to quite a few Vikings games, watched a lot of football, and this, the energy during this play and watching him cut back, watching Jalen Nailor clip him for a key block at the end. I mean, it was a perfect play, to be completely honest. I just can't think of a better way for us to really get going. And I think since that point, there wasn't a ton of worry for Vikings fans that we were going to lose this game. We had to make a clutch drive when it was 20-14 and put the game away. But other than that, this play absolutely blew it open. What did you see from your vantage point on that play? What was the energy you were feeling, and what was your favorite part about the play?
Well, first off, I think if you want to know if guys are truly in or truly believe their head coach and really are backing them. You look at Jalen Naylor and what he did on that play. He had no business catching up to that cornerback and just providing enough of a block to get Jefferson into to the end zone, because I think that corner cuts him off in the last 5 yards if he doesn't get there. Seeing Speedy literally speed down the field was just such an impressive play. It goes to show that, they're playing for their teammates, they're playing for their coach, and they truly want to be out there and compete. And, I thought there were so many good things about that play. Jefferson being able to beat double coverage, Darnold having the confidence to step up and sling the rock. And then obviously I think, you can never forget how well the offensive line protected him on that play in the end zone. Very much could have been a safety. Took, some real confidence from Kevin O'Connell to instill that play call at that time of the game. And I think it just goes to show that Kevin O'Connell and Sam Darnold they're in a really good space right now. They do really both believe in each other. And I think that confidence is just elevating Darnold's game. And you saw it in multiple parts of the game, whether it was that throw or the one up the seam to Naylor or the clutch third down throw to Powell, or him using his legs to get us into field goal position before the first half. He's doing all the right things, and he's not trying to force too much. Obviously had that pick to Warner that I bet he would want back, but all in all, didn't really have too many crazy situations where we felt like he was putting us at risk, and just seems to be playing very calm, which I think is the biggest thing for me. He seems like a very stoic guy, and you see that in his gameplay. Hasn't really gotten too up and down. Good to see a little bit of energy from him after that big win, but I think having that more even keel of play style is really benefiting him in this Vikings offense.
I couldn't agree more, Matt, and I love that about him, is that he's not too high, he's not too low, right? Like, even on that play, probably it was by far the best touchdown pass of his career, I would probably say. And you see him celebrate. I think it was a proper celebration. There's a difference between celebrating with the team, and there's a difference between sprinting down the field and going nuts. When you see that kind of outburst of emotion from your quarterback, I guess it can tell you potentially that they might be volatile during the lows. Like you said, the stoicness in Sam Darnold, he just seems like a rock, like a steady leader who's going regardless of adversity or how well we are playing in a game. I trust him to be able to kind of bring the team back down to earth, and it's like a calming presence having your quarterback and your captain have that kind of demeanor. So that's definitely exciting to see. Let's talk a little bit about our 1-2 punch here on the ground, and Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler. These two guys putting in work again. Ty Chandler kind of stole the show in this one. 10 carries for 82 yards, averaging 8.2 a pop. A lot of very physical finishes on his run too, and it's just hard to not see the burst and the ability that this guy has. I mean, great speed, great cuts. He's following his blocks well, and I just think that going from the backfield of Alexander Madison, Cam Akers, and a little dose of Chandler to now what we have in Jones and Chandler, it's very obvious that it's making Darnold's job easier, and it's ultimately making us a more dangerous offense.
Yeah, this is the best I've felt about our running back since we've had Dalvin Cook, in his prime years. We went through a couple years of trying to figure that out, and Madison just wasn't able to quite get it done. And you just see the production that Aaron Jones has, his experience, his ability to make plays in the run and pass. I thought we had a couple good screens to him. And then Ty Chandler, man, he's just got burst, just unlimited, it feels like. Just him being able to come in fresh, not having a full workload, I think is a good thing for both of them. This is going to be a very good 1-2 punch if they can stay healthy. And I thought Ty, what impressed me most was on that last drive, I don't know if everybody saw this, but Aaron Jones was in the medical tent, was getting attended to, was not really involved in that last drive when we were without Addison, Jefferson, obviously no Hawkinson for these first 6 games. And then you take out Aaron Jones, Darnold and Chandler were able to kind of lead that drive. Chandler was making big plays, Darnold picking up conversions when he needed to. I was just very impressed on that last drive, needing to go get points. It felt so much like a game from last year where, I think, just to speak on it, last year, maybe we don't get that third down conversion. We punt the ball back. Now we're all on our heels, hoping our defense can save the day again and hopefully not have a catastrophic 1-point loss. Because in reality, we should have beat the 49ers by 10 or more if we don't have that red zone interception from Darnold and a fumble at the 1 from Aaron Jones. There's a lot of potential for more points, but I was just most impressed with the ability of depth players and then Darnold to step up in a big situation like that and go win a ball game.
And put the game away, right? That's something we've been calling for years. We've been sitting in this booth now 4 or 5 years, and we've always preached for an aggressive put them away mentality, play to win the game. Don't put your defense with their back against the wall to win the game. So that was quite a joy to see. I just want to go ahead and tip my cap right now to Fred Warner. That guy is an incredible inside backer, and there's a reason that he is a perennial All-Pro. It doesn't matter if you're asking the guy to cover, you're asking the guy to fill a run, you're asking the guy to punch the ball out. He can do everything and anything for a defense, and he is a true terror to deal with and made a ton of plays in this game. I don't think I've ever seen a guy make a peanut punch like that right on the goal line on Aaron Jones, and the way he responded to it too. I mean, he's a cool customer, and he is a leader of all leaders on a defensive side of the ball. So hat tip to Fred Warner for his performance in that one. That was phenomenal. Looking at our defense, we had some notable performances as well. Touched a little bit on Van Ginkel and just he seems to be all over the field. As for the rest of our linebacking core, Blake Cashman has almost a career day, 13 tackles, a sack, 3 passes defended. This guy's diving all over the place, breaking up passes. He's moving really well in the zones over the middle of the field and picking up routes. What a homecoming for Blake Cashman. First game as a Viking in US Bank Stadium, and he stands up for the state of Minnesota with a performance like that.
Yeah, I mean, he is just electric at the linebacker position. He's a rangy guy. As long as he can stay healthy, he's going to provide such an impact for this defense. And that's not even touching on guys like Jihad Ward, who is, I think, a sneaky good pickup in free agency, has had, I believe, 7 or 8 pressures. Jonathan Grenard may not have a bunch of sacks, but he's leading the team with 12 pressures, definitely doing his part. And then we're not even mentioning guys like Van Ginkel, Dallas Turner. What B-Flow has been able to do with this defense and completely transform it from last year to this year has been so impressive. You're seeing what he's been able to kind of put his touch on this defense and how successful it is now. Having him here for a few years, not only has the guys feel a little bit more confident in the playbook, but now you're seeing his touch on who he wanted to bring in and how that's working. A guy like Stephon Gilmore and Shaq Griffin, they're those man corners that he's looking for so that he can bring more 4-man rushes, 5-man rushes. And he's doing exactly that. And we're seeing much more effective blitz rates, much more effective pressure rates. Everything is really just coming up great for Brian Flores and this defense. And it's got to be a top 5, top 8 defense through these first 2 weeks.
Oh, it's easily top 5 for the first 2 weeks, and
Patrick Jones.
Yes, Pat Jones. That's the thing, Matt, is we could sit here and go on and on. Like, I almost feel like there's not enough guys that we could mention the way that they're playing right now. And Josh Metellus just quickly becoming such a Viking staple and a favorite. I mean, the guy goes from, in the previous regime, a rookie who's only playing special teams, barely cracking the active roster, to now being a bona fide playmaker in the middle of the field. You can put him anywhere. He gets another pick. He's aggressive, trying to take it to the house, and I just think that they need to start selling more 4-4 jerseys in the pro shop. Minnesota Vikings, you're going to sell out of those jerseys if you start getting them in there, because Josh Metellus is ascending to a great level, and I do think this is the first year that he gets that Pro Bowl nod. He's starting to get that national recognition. He keeps making plays. There's no reason that he can't. Let's get into the Duke Cannon studs and duds of the week, Matt. Go to DukeCannon.com for some great products. Duke Cannon makes superior quality grooming goods that meet the high standards of hardworking men. Go check out the new Buck Moon scent. It is phenomenal. I will start with my first stud of the game. I already touched on Blake Cashman. What a homecoming. Absolute stud of the week, and I got a feeling he's going to be a stud of the season.
And I'll move on next to Pat Jones. 4 sacks in the game, 4 sacks through 2 games this season. Had another 2 yesterday. Just seems to have really unlocked another level to his game, and I think he's making himself a lot of money, whether that's with us or another team. His performance this year has been really eye-opening, and then just very happy to have him in this edge room.
Yep, and 2 studs at the wide receiver position. Jalen Naylor and Justin Jefferson both get the stud nod this week. Justin for putting one of the best plays on display that I've ever seen, and Jalen Naylor stepping into that wide receiver 2 role and holding it down even when Jefferson was unable to play. This guy looks confident. He's got good hands, great speed, good route runner, and he's well coached on top of all that. So those are 2 studs on the week on the perimeter, and we don't even have Jordan Addison back in the fold yet. So looking good out there.
Definitely, and I'll add a couple more here. And Josh Metellus coming up with the big INT yesterday on the tip drill between him and Bynum. Way to secure that, get us inside the 15-yard line there. And then also C.J. Ham comes off of a week where he had a big fumble in the first quarter of the opening game, and then comes back this week and gets a blocked punt, which ended up being a huge play just can't speak enough on how good he is off the field, but as well as on the field. This guy just seems to make big plays, whether it's a block up the middle or a flat catch out the seam for him to go grab. He just seems to be able to do it all, and then you see him on special teams, man. Love having him on our team.
Absolutely. And Andrew Van Ginkel. I mean, let's mention him again. This guy's all over the field. He looks like a Viking. He's absolutely running receivers down. He's jumping screens, and he's getting pressures on the quarterback. This guy has been a stud through 2, and he'll probably be a stud through many more.
And flipping it over to the duds, again, when we're 2-0, we got to be a little bit nitpicky here. We got to have 1 or 2 guys that we just want to see a little bit more from.
Yeah.
And I'll start off, and this is, again, just a bad play. It's just Dallas Turner. It's a rookie mistake. When you're fielding that ball inside the 5, you cannot take your momentum in and really cost us that extra 20 to 25 yards in field position. So, again, rookie mistake. I think he'll learn from that and not make that again. But, that was just a big play that we could have definitely had a better result in.
100%. And I don't even really want to name one or have to name one, but mine's just going to be because of the expectation and the level we know he can play at is Ivan Pace. And I just thought he fit a lot of runs in this game really well. He was chopping Jordan Mason down, but there were some times, Purdy escaped him around the edge, picked up a first down with his legs. I saw him get washed down by Trent Williams a few times. He's going to move his way back into that stud category next week, I think. But so far, Ivan Pace, we're waiting to see the sack. We're waiting to see the big play from him. So my third dud is going to be the 49ers secondary. We're going to put them as the duds for this week. And in particular, you're in man blitz. You got 2 guys on Justin Jefferson, a free safety and a corner, and these guys both get cooked over the top. I've got a good feeling that those guys are sitting in film today, getting reamed a little bit because your only job is to not give up the big play there, and they did exactly that. So 49ers secondary, not able to step up, leave Jalen Naylor on a wide open corner route as well for a touchdown. They're the third ones on the dud list.
Yeah, and for an honorary mention or an honorable mention, I would say is just Johnny Munt. Again, just from the tight end position, have not been able to get a whole lot of production. I thought that he would be very involved these first 2 weeks, and that may not be all on him, and a lot of it's play calling, different things. But again, just want to see a little bit more involvement with him in the pass game. So it's not all his fault.
It is shocking though. You look around the entire NFL right now, and there's really been no tight end production. It's crazy. The Sam Laportas, the Dalton Kincaids, these guys have yet to catch a touchdown. I don't know if it's just the way that the year has started or a trend, but tight ends have certainly not been hot to start the year. Besides Isaiah Likely in week 1, we'll give him the nod.
Well, why don't we get into our Cub Foods honorary captain of the week, Nick? What do you think?
Let's go ahead and do it. And this is an easy decision for me. It's going to be Blake Cashman because of the hometown factor here. He is the captain of the week. I think he could be a captain of this team every week, but just a personal satisfaction that he probably feels. Eden Prairie product, Minnesota Golden Gopher. A lot of things got to work out in the NFL for you to come back and play for your hometown team. Granted, his agency is here in Minneapolis, so they've got some ties with the team. But it's got to feel damn good for him to come out and play, in purple. Probably have a lot of family and friends at the game, and just prove that you're one of the best in the game at the middle linebacker position when you're healthy. So Blake Cashman, honorary captain of the week.
Definitely. Quick shout out to Cub Foods. They are the best grocery store in Minnesota. There is truly nothing better than hitting up Cub Foods on a Sunday morning, going to get some stuff to grill, firing up that, and just enjoying your Sunday and watching some football. So if you get a chance, go check out Cub Foods and their awesome deals that they go have on weekly. For my honorary captain, I'm going to go ahead and say Patrick Jones. Again, a guy that I did not expect to have this much of an impact. 4 sacks through 2 games. Consistently shows up. Had Trent Williams in a spin cycle yesterday and just really has evolved as a pass rusher, and I think that shows what B-Flow has been able to do in terms of his technique and just his confidence. You see a lot more of a bully-type play style from him, so very happy to see what he was able to do and just keeps on finding ways to get to the quarterback. So for me, he's definitely my honorary captain of the week.
Shout out to Patrick. It seems like since he's been drafted by us, he's had a rotational role, but there's always been guys that we've added to this edge room, guys that could beat him out, guys that maybe we're supposed to beat him out. But shout out to his grind this offseason. He said he put everything he possibly could into this offseason to be, the player that's showing up on film here through the first 2 weeks. So shout out to him through sticking with it, taking constructive criticism and coaching, coming off a really poorly graded PFF year, and he's out here in the first 2 games, and he's one of our top playmakers, and he's second in the NFL in sacks behind Aiden Hutchinson currently. Alrighty, you want to move into some Texans preview here. We got a great team coming to town. You obviously know about their talent. I do as well. Got a few former Vikings on the team as well. It's going to be a good one, and these are the 2 teams that are leading the NFL in sacks. They're getting a lot of pressure with Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter. They've got some dudes on the defensive line. It's the homecoming for Stefon Diggs and Danielle Hunter coming back to the bank. That's got to be crazy for Diggs. He has not played a game here, since he made the biggest play of his life. So, really looking forward to seeing him come back, and I think this is going to be a great matchup. What's the latest on Joe Mixon? Have you heard anything there after an ankle injury?
I have not. I had heard that he was upset that he felt like there was a hip drop tackle that was not called yesterday, but I have not heard any updates on his injury. That is definitely one to monitor. Like you had said, a lot of familiar faces coming back here. We've got Stefon Diggs, Danielle Hunter, and don't forget about Kris Boyd.
That's right. Got a penalty last night.
Former Viking himself, but again, will be a fun matchup. I think this one might be a little bit more high scoring, but based off what the Bears were able to do against them last night, I do feel good about this defense being able to maybe stress C.J. Stroud out in the pocket a little bit, bring a little bit more exotic blitzes. I still think Flores is keeping a couple of those up his sleeve for big games like this, so for us to be able to kind of not have to constantly bring 5-6 man pressures is a good thing for us. So overall, very excited to see what we can do. I think that the national media, like I had said in the beginning of this podcast, is going to give us a lot more respect. I do expect this to be a dogfight, and one that until we lose at home, and the way we've been playing, I got to kind of see us lose now with how confident we are now feeling.
Yeah, and one guy that we didn't mention is who's quickly taken over Dameon Pierce's role as the RB2 is Cam Akers. And a guy coming off an Achilles injury, and the way he was running last night, definitely nothing to slouch at. This guy is back in prime form, and he's probably going to get a ton of work this week, regardless of Mixon being fully healthy or not, because he has just been trending in a positive direction since he stepped on the field for Houston. So, yeah, just a lot of former Viking ties here. You got to love it. Let's talk a little bit about C.J. Stroud. So this is a guy hyper talented. It's now looking like he was the guy in that draft class with a struggling Bryce Young, who was just benched today. That could be a product of Carolina. Who knows? But C.J. Stroud is certainly one of the most talented young quarterbacks in the league, highly touted. And you can also tell that the NFL is kind of trying to mold him into the, I would say, Mahomes-type quarterback. They want him to be a face of the league, and rightfully so. I mean, he's a high-character kid with a ton of athletic talent, and he's got great people to throw to on the perimeter. So I worry most about, his ability to kind of – his accuracy in the short game is so good. If he's able to just pick us apart and move the ball down the field, I think that he could have some success against us. I also think that he hasn't quite seen, some of these packages he's going to get from Brian Flores, and, we, to be blatantly honest, have a relentless pass rush. So he knows it's going to be a challenge as well. What scares you the most about C.J. Stroud's game that can hurt us?
Just his ability to move outside of the pocket. He can escape when he needs to, and just really I feel like has a good connection with those 3 wide receivers. Definitely one of the top wide receiver groups in the league. I think I expect to see a very chippy defense from Brian Flores and his crew out there, especially knowing a guy in Diggs is coming home, likes to bark. I expect guys like Metellus, Bynum, Smith to really be laying down the rock and trying to set the tone defensively to let him know that, it ain't his spot anymore, and we're here to, and we mean business. So I expect a very physical defensive front. I also think that this head coaching matchup is very interesting to me. D'Amico Ryans and Kevin O'Connell are probably some of the most up-and-coming head coaches in the league, right? They're both very young. I think there's a stat last night of D'Amico Ryans and Mercedes Lewis both being drafted in the same year. Now D'Amico Ryan is a coach while Lewis is still playing for the Bears. So just goes to show how fast D'Amico has been able to climb the ranks and is now considered, one of the better head coaches in the league. I do really respect him, especially defensively, and what he's able to do. But again, these two, I think, have a very bright future for both of them, and it's going to be a heck of a clash between them just because, KOC is more of an offensive guy and D'Amico's more of a defensive guy. So just interested to see their differences in terms of coaching style and different things.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. I actually did make a comment even last night saying that D'Amico Ryans is kind of the defensive Kevin O'Connell in terms of head coaches in the league and like how rapid of a trajectory they have and how quickly they've gained respect across the league. Look at their offensive coordinator, too, and Bobby Slowick, guy 6 years with the 49ers, learning under the Shanahan tree. This is a guy that's 37 years old as well. So, the Texans have kind of the same thing going, trying to inject youth and culture into the coaching staff. So I'm interested to see, because we have similar approaches, offensive mind versus defensive mind. It's going to be a real chess match, and I got a feeling this is going to be a very physical game. And this is going to be a game that could be won with the X's and O's, because I think the talent on the teams is very similar. Obviously, Justin Jefferson being healthy is a huge factor for us, but it sounds like the initial reports on that are positive. We'll see about Jordan Addison. I guess if I had to make a call right now, I say he probably sits out one more week. What do you think?
I think there's a chance he can play this week. I would lean in your direction, saying that they might play it safe. It sounds like Jefferson should be able to play, so obviously getting him on the field alleviates maybe a little bit more pressure to get Addison out there. But all in all, I just want to make sure that both those guys are not rushing too fast, getting back onto the field. This is a long season, and we 100%. Need both of them. So to me, even if we didn't get either of them, I'd rather have them feel confident moving forward than really feeling like, hey, we need to rush, especially with winning these first 2 games. No need to put someone in a position that could hinder our long-term outlook this season. So I do expect him to maybe miss one more week, but I expect Jefferson to strap it up and, again, put on another great performance. He's off to a great start this season.
Yeah, him and Derek Stingley is going to be a fun one. Derek Stingley, a guy that's just like, he's almost like a wide receiver playing the cornerback position. He reminds me a lot of Trayvon Diggs with his ball skills. I think he's pretty good in coverage. He can stick with you in man, but just what pops off the page is how many picks the guy gets. He goes up like a receiver. Those of you who remember him playing as a freshman at LSU, he was kind of destined to be a star from day one. So that's going to be a heck of a matchup, and I expect to see plenty of competitiveness there. As for Addison, we'll see how it goes. Those of you that have sprained ankles, you know how that goes if you've re-aggravated it, and kind of the more you do that, the slower it heals. So it's really not something. It's like Drake said, like a sprained ankle, I ain't nothing to play with. So
I like that.
Exactly.
Bars.
And I say for longevity, maybe you keep him out one more week, guarantee that full recovery, especially with a guy like Jalen Nailor able to step up, and we play a ton of 2 wide receiver sets. So I wouldn't be surprised either way.
And before we get into our game time picks of the week, the Vikes Verified podcast is sponsored by SKOL Vodka. SKOL Vodka is the original premium vodka that combines modern distilling of the highest quality spirit with century-old traditions to create its bold flavor. If you're looking for a smooth vodka to mix into your summer cocktails, look no further than SKOL Vodka. And you can go pick up a bottle today and enjoy your evening. SKOL Vodka.
And the Vikes Verified podcast is sponsored by The Grint. This is the best time of the year, especially for me, golf and football crossing over. If you're a golfer, then The Grint is the app for you. You share your score with all your friends. It's essentially a social media for golf. Your friends can track your rounds. They see every single birdie that you make, or better, they also see when you roll a 4-putt on the green. So keep your friends in the loop with your golf game and download The Grint today.
Moving into game time picks of the week, Nick, I will start us off hot. We had talked about Ty Chandler and what he was able to do in a small sample size. I think he follows it up this week with another stellar performance, and he finds the end zone. I'm going to say Ty Chandler anytime touchdown.
I think that's a good pick. If you had to guess what the odds were on that, what would you say?
I'd probably say plus 240, maybe.
Plus 240, okay. I was thinking maybe even a little bit higher, plus 400. But either way, I like it. And I like what they did with him kind of riding the hot hand. When he was able to break a few, you keep him in the game. You let him keep rumbling. I think that Ty Chandler is very due to score. Another position group that is very due to score is our tight ends, and that's why my pick is Josh Oliver anytime TD. And my reason for that is I think that, one, it's going to be tremendous odds for you. You're probably going to get him somewhere around plus 1,000 or more to score this touchdown. He's close to scoring a touchdown up the seam in New York week 1. I also think that if we come out in a power package on the goal line, we've shown some different things able to get receivers open. You know how easy it is to just kind of slip the tight end right behind the back of the defense and have a short play action touchdown on the goal line. So I think Josh Oliver, look for the stat line, maybe 2 catches for 12 yards and a TD. I think that's it. And he capitalizes inside the 10-yard line.
I like it. We got guys finding the end zone this week, staying hot against the Texans. I just think this offense is operating right now, and someone's got to get in there. So I like our chances for one of these guys to find the end zone.
Okay, and what do you got for a score prediction?
I'm going to keep riding with the Vikings. Like I said last week, I had a 49ers switch to Vikings. Great decision by me. Feel great about that. But again, I know that there's some bias in me, so I'm going to just lay that out on front here. Yes, this is probably a bias, another bias pick here. But until we lose, especially at home, I got to keep riding with them. We got to ride the high. I'm going to go Vikings 20, Texans 17. We win by 3.
I like that a lot, and that's kind of in the ballpark for me too. I think that the pass rush on both these teams is so good. I think it's going to be difficult on the quarterbacks. I'm going to go with a bit of a different prediction here, and I just think like all the ties in the game and the stakes in the game, I have an early intuition that this is an overtime game.
Oh, okay.
I've got a 21-21 overtime, Vikings securing a Will Reichard game-winning kick, 24-21 Vikings. But for some reason, this just seems like a down-to-the-wire, maybe someone misses a long field goal at the end of regulation, and we send this thing to OT, and we play a little bit of free football. So that is my prediction for the week. I also just want to tip the cap to Will Reichard. Haven't seen a ton from him yet, and he hasn't had a ton of opportunity, but for the first time in a while, I'm excited and comfortable when Will Reichard runs out onto the field. And I think that him showing a little bit of quiet confidence in himself and having a little bit of swagger is the reason for that. That's not a major knock to Greg Joseph or Dan Bailey, but they just didn't seem like they exuded the confidence to go out there and stripe a kick when you need it most. And to me, Will Reichard has that. He's got that it factor, and I'm looking forward to him being put in big situations this year. And whether he makes it or not, we'll still ride with him, but I got a feeling that he's going to be clutch.
When is the last time you felt this confident in a Vikings kicker?
You know, I'm going to probably end up saying rookie year Blair Walsh because of the way he started his career, 55-plus yard field goals. This guy was automatic. If you look before that, it was probably Ryan Longwell, to be completely honest with you. So it's been a while. And, you know, Greg Joseph, there was good displays there. Hit a great game winner against the Giants. It's one of the best, Vikings game-winning field goals.
Too,
Yes, and there were great moments. But to me, just like having the
consistency,
the worry when they run on the field, like they look nervous. You know what I mean? Reichard, he just looks cool. He looks about his business, and it seems like every kick he's hit has been good from double the distance so far. So I'm going to say, it was probably rookie year Blair Walsh was when I felt this way.
And Dallas Turner said he would trust his life with Will the Thrill Reichard. So, I mean, he's seen it firsthand at Alabama. Couldn't make me feel any better, but again, I totally agree. Having him trot out there, just have full confidence in him, and that's a game changer. For us to feel confident in those situations goes a long ways. We all know the feelings that we had when Greg Joseph trotted out there. Much respect to him and some of the big kicks that he hit, but there was always that thought of what if, and always trickling in the back of our mind. So really good to solidify that, and have some consistency in the special teams department.
For sure, Matt. All right, we've gotten through our predictions. We've gotten through our player props. Now I'm going to go ahead and say, do you think that anyone who hasn't been active yet on this team gets the nod this week? Let's talk maybe Levi Drake Rodriguez, maybe Dwight McGlothern. Do you see them kind of switching things up in any way based on any special teams performances, or do you see the same active roster for this game?
I think I see the same active roster. Maybe like a guy like Morrow, Fabian Morrow would maybe get in just because he's a vet type of guy. But unless there's some injuries that kind of linger, again, if Addison or Jefferson is out, I definitely could see Tristan Jackson being elevated again. Mm-hmm. We've consistently seen Myles Gaskin get called up. Jonah Williams got a call up last week as well. So I think you'll see those guys continue to use those elevations as they can. But unfortunately, I'd love to see Draco out on the field, but just not in the cards quite yet, and that's okay. I think they're crafting some of that technique even more. So a lot of potential on those inactives, and we haven't even mentioned a guy in Gabriel Murphy who was off to such a great start and has kind of been hidden a little bit with his injury. So a lot of bright spots on this inactive roster, and just overall, this team's got a very bright future.
Murphy, that's just another guy in this arsenal mixed in with these linebackers that could be lethal rushing the quarterback. So that's another one to be excited about for sure. Houston Texans, they fall in our category, 2-0 teams that seem to have a good culture, have a good thing going, good leadership. So this is going to be a dogfight on Sunday. This is the type of game that, if it was up to me, this would be flexed to primetime because I think this is going to be a great show. But we're going to go ahead and take on the Houston Texans at noon this Sunday, hoping for the same energy as the home opener, hoping to start this season 3-0 headed into Lambeau Field. That would be a great feeling, and it would really put the Packers, it'd probably force them to rush Jordan Love back into the lineup, but it's all about 1 week at a time from here on out. Don't get too high, don't get too low, just like Sam Darnold. This is the Vikes Verified Podcast. Stay locked in with us. We're bringing it all season, baby. SKOL Vikes.
Yes, sir. Let the good times roll. Let's ride with it. Pack that bank. SKOL Vikes.
You're listening to the Vikes Verified Podcast.